Renata was at A Casa when A Casa was in another street at Street Irlandino Sandoval. And she made a lecture there inside a swimming pool, an empty swimming pool. So I remember this evening, and we are doing in such a different scenario this evening. I think it's our first time in a place like this doing something like this. We are very happy with this meeting today. Welcome. And A Casa, for I think everybody here, or almost everybody, knows me, and I am, but maybe not everybody knows that I am now working for A Casa as a consultant for international matters, international relationship. I have been doing many lectures and many trips lately, and then talking with Renata. Renata invited me to improve the connections between A Casa and other countries, other institutions, and so on. And this, I think A Casa already has a very good portfolio and is indeed the main place for craft design in Brazil today. But now A Casa is starting this exchange with foreign countries, and we are in this meeting, this informal talk today is a part of this. And the idea of this lecture came when Charlotte Maut came to Brazil some months ago. Charlotte she's there, and she belongs to the Danish Agency for Culture. And after this, she invited Clarissa Schneider, the director of Bamboo magazine, and myself, and we were very lucky of having 1 week in Denmark, meeting wonderful designers, going to wonderful museums and places and so on. And we have met the team of FairTrade Designers, and I think the work they do has a strong connection with the issues we are living now in Brazil, and the issues of through craft improve the life of people. And then it was a good occasion for us to have you there. This meeting is happening together with the opening of the exhibition. This exhibition that was opened yesterday, and Lars from the Danish Design Museum is the curator of the exhibition. It's a very good exhibition. I went yesterday. I do recommend you to go there. And then they will present the work of FairTrade Designers all together. And then Pil, she belongs to the team of FairTrade Designers, but she's also the curator of the craft collection this year. Danish agencies of culture, they have been doing this collection, I think, for how many years, Pil?
1999.
Yes, it's many years now. And we would like very much to host this exhibition next year here at A Casa, then the A Casa with the building totally red and so on. And after, so they will speak about FairTrade Designers, Pil will speak about this exhibition, and then we will open a talk. And I am very happy that here we have some of the main Brazilian designers that were working in the craft fields, and also journalists and curators, and it's a very special audience. So, please.
From the beginning, FairTrade Designers met and decided to work together, since we had a need or an urge to do more within our field of working with design. 3 of us met at design school and already had each our career. But when we sat down for this meeting back in December of 2006, we all 3 of us had an urge to do something more within our field of design. So we didn't know what we wanted to do, but we knew that we wanted to start off and do something more than just products. And doing the work, we created this ambition. So we didn't know ahead of time that we were gathered to do exactly this, but this we developed doing our first project. So it is an ambition to use design thinking as a social lever, and our ambition is to create sustainable development. And doing development processes is also to find tools to do this. This is not a simple task. It's not a task that has one answer to it, and the following projects that we would like to share with you will show that we have learned a lot doing the work that we have done so far, and we're sure that we will learn more in the future. During this talk, we will explain a little bit about how we are organized. It's a fluent thing. It's not one way of working. We are all equal in this group, so the organization is coming from project to project. We will talk about the projects we have done, and then we will talk a little bit about the services that we offer. FairTrade Designers are the three of us. It's Pil, Liselotte, and I, and we come from the same educational background, but since we educated, we have been working with different topics within the field of design, and all the different areas you see up here, we represent. Some of them we are all doing, some of them just some of us have been working with, and we have kind of pooled all these areas into the work of FairTrade Designers. So from the beginning, we were educated as product designers and have done products and experimental furnitures, and then from there we have developed into individual careers. But when we work within the frame of FairTrade Designers, we pool all our expertise together. The objects you see in the following slides are mass-produced objects, limited editions, and one-offs. These are products that the three of us have done. Few of them are done together. Most of them are done by us as individuals. And as you see, the nature of the products are very different, since they represent both mass market products and more limited editions.
And so in the beginning, when the pictures you just saw of our more commercial work didn't seem to be sort of fulfilling enough for us, we were seeking for a kind of a frame to work within. We knew that we wanted to make something better. We knew that we wanted to work with people, and that we wanted to work with something original and getting back to the things made by hand. And in this process of looking for a special frame for us to work within, not at that point really knowing too much about either sustainability or social design, we found that the FairTrade guidelines were actually a good frame for us to start, because this was about helping people in need, but helping them exactly where they were, using what they have and what they're able to do to make a social improvement in their communities. And also it's about trying to ensure good working conditions and giving people fair payment, but also very important for us, it's about preserving the culture of the people that you work with, respecting the culture and the special skills that they have to offer. So this was a very good starting point for us. And then in the beginning, of course, we were trying to make it as difficult as possible for ourselves, so we went to China to start the first FairTrade project there ever. And in that case, it of course was mostly about human rights, being allowed to organize yourself within a group and claiming the right salary. When you work with people within the FairTrade community, it's the poorest of the poor, and it's a special group of people in China that not many of us know about. They have nothing, they don't know how to read and write. So this was where we went first. So we will tell about the project in China, in Yunnan province, and after that a completely different project from Ghana, and then a project in Zimbabwe.
To find a cooperator that works with fair trade in China was like a wish we had, and we put this wish out in our network, and it was like a match made in heaven, because it seemed very impossible to find somebody working with fair trade in China. But it happened to be that we told this to somebody who actually met somebody who went on a bar in China and met somebody who needed designers who wanted to go to China and do fair trade. So it sounds a little bit far out, but it was like 3 steps. And it was somebody sitting there saying, but I know somebody who would do that. And he told that to the person who called us and said, who would be stupid enough to go to China and work on a project like that? We know you would. So that was actually the springboard to go to Yunnan province to work with Bitten Hø, who is a Danish professor within economics. She went to Kunming to teach in economics, and there was an earthquake in the area of Kunming. Kunming is a province. There lives about 40 to 50 million people. The capital at that time was had about 8 million inhabitants. I never heard about the Kunming before I went there. But compared to Denmark, these were very, very large scale, although we never heard about the place. We went there, we met with Bitten, and Bitten, who came there as an economic professor, went to the mountains to see the consequences of an earthquake, and she met with the people she's now working with. These were women that was very poor and lost the few things they had. They had no houses, they had no income, they had nothing. And she tried to engage them in some kind of project, and actually they were very persistent. They thought they couldn't contribute with anything. She looked at their clothes and said, but who did your clothes? You have wonderful clothes. And the women agreed that they did. They were taught by their mothers. And they said, but that's a big achievement. And the project she started, Threads of Yunnan, sprung from this ability of being able to make embroidery. So we were very fortunate to meet with Bitten, and she was the one who took the initiative of starting the project. And we went with her to the mountains. This is from Kunming. This is up at the workshop in the mountain areas. It's a drive that's about 7 hours in a bus. You go way up in the mountains. So the minority groups living up here live in very small villages. Actually, you can see from one village to the other, but it takes about 1 or 2 days to walk there. There are very few roads up there. So these are people living so they can see each other from the villages, but they have separate cultures, and the clothes is different, and their language is different, and their food is different, so they're isolated in their villages. Because of the earthquake, several villages and several different groups were forced to live together. And at this project, at the workshop, it was also a cultural meeting for the people, for the women coming here. We were trying at the workshop to introduce, not design method, but we were doing a workshop with them, trying to find out how we could work with them within the design process of developing new products.
Yeah, so the point for us was to go and visit the women at where they were living to see how we could start our own language with them. Of course, they didn't know how to speak English, and they spoke several different kinds of Chinese, and our translator was maybe translating some of our poor English into some dialects. So we very soon found out we were not able to use language or the spoken words as a language. We had to be able to create a language with the women, which was writing and coloring and making figures. So we had to develop all of this language while we were with them, so we would be able to refer to this when we sent drawings to them or proposals, or they sent to us. So it was really, really interesting. And this is what we were doing in the workshop, trying to see how we could sort of formalize this language with no words. This is a picture that shows you the conditions of the village. This is the Miao people, living very far away from
from the city and the civilization. And in the next picture, we have an old Miao woman who came to us to sell us this textile that we work with when we work with the women. This is a hemp. This is a natural fabric that they plant and they harvest and they prepare and they weave and they make a production of these textiles themselves. It takes years to make many meters, but they use it in their traditional clothing. And we thought this is what we have here. It's only 35 centimeters wide, so it was a little bit difficult to design products with it, but we used it as a rule that we have to use what they have, and from that start selling some products to help their economy, and then they might be able to start production of other things. Yeah, the thing about the hand is, because when we started the project, most of the women didn't know how to read and write, but we wanted them to have a special connection with the products that they made and being able to show that they made this. So their signature in the beginning was the draft of their hand, and they were choosing their favorite color to do it. This would be their signature. And now when you see our pillows, they almost all of them can write their names and put it inside. So this is their special signature. They're all different. Yeah. These are pillows that we were so lucky as to get into the crafts collection actually at that point. And the next picture is also a pillow where we were trying to work with the women and using slang and modern graphic design, and also making them contribute with some flowers and some different illustrations that would mean something special to them. So it was, yeah.
And very important, I think it was statement about consuming and the things about we're making a lot in China, but this was actually made by hand in China. It wasn't mass produced. So a lot of these things were statements that was for us important to show in a more modern way, so we could combine the two cultures.
And the name of the project was Homemade in China. In Denmark, we are very used to turning a project, an object, a product upside down, and it's made in China. So to have this project called Homemade in China was also to emphasize that the women, they embroider at home, but actually they also do embroidery while they're walking from the home to the field, so they do it in between other things. And also for many of the women, it's the first time making their own money. You see, they live in a swap economy, so they give something and receive something, but they don't use money. Yeah, the bracelets, like the one I'm wearing here, they had already, but they had them in another version. They had them in a version where you had to tie a bow to put it on, and it's difficult when you put it on one hand only to make a bow with one hand. So what we added on was a slap-on, so you don't have to, to make a knot to wear it. So this is also about building on what's already there, but combining it with just a new detail to make it more smart and more useful. These soles are called the wedding soles. And this came by that we were on home visit in the small villages, and at one of these visitors there was an open closet, and we saw these piles of souls, and we got very curious about why do you have so many souls. And the mother in the house explained to us that her daughter was getting married, and that did not really explain to us why she had so many souls. So we said, okay. So she goes, well, there's so many souls because for my daughter to get married, I need to embroider a pair of souls for all the visitors, for all the guests to the wedding, because they walk a long way to come to the wedding. I told you about the villages far away. So all guests at the wedding will get a pair of souls to walk home. And we found the souls wonderfully beautiful, and they needed to be bigger sizes to be sold in Denmark. So now they come in bigger sizes and have been on market in Denmark. This is the outcome of workshop we did out there. We did experiments. Some things made sense and some did not make sense. Going out to the villages and making the workshop was also about finding out what can we do together, what comes out beautifully, what will work as a product later on. So many experiments. Yeah, now we have a video. It's just our own shots from out there, so it's not professional. It's just for you to get a feeling about what went on out there. It's just 2-3 minutes. %80% of the country look like the mountains. It's really mountains all over. Makes it very difficult to live there.
Hello.
Ah, 现在要跟大家一起来做一些事情，来发不出来。They try, they just try. 不换，就要喜欢的小狗换。好。Yes. And now we put the hand a bit more like that. 哦，手没有。也是。好玩吗？这个好玩。啊，会你爸爸。That's very nice. Very good.
This kind of workshop went on for a very long time, and the whole thing was also about getting us to be very secure with each other and getting the women to feel that they were able to trust us. So it was important that we were kind of physical and we were touching and laughing and trying to be friends in a very short time, so they would open up and be able to explain to us what they were able to do with the craft. So of course they had to bring their children, and we were drawing, discussing their dreams and their favorite animals and their favorite colors, and they would express themselves on the drawings and the textiles. And for most of the women, this was the very first time somebody ever asked them or were interested in what they were feeling or dreaming about. So we had some really interesting discussions. This is very late at night. And this is the production of the hemp. This is the place where the textile is produced. It's improved by now, but this is the conditions, and it takes the woman many months to make several meters of this hemp.
It's the same material on her jacket.
So now, actually, coming from this and some other things that Bitten are doing out there, in this village they now have a little doctor's clinic, and they're also starting to buy sewing machines, and they have their own little place to go and do the work. And slowly, the conditions for the people are improving. And for us, it's maybe not so much about the individual woman getting a better life right now, right here, but as we see it, this is also helping the children and the next generations, because now the children are able to go to school, the people are making money. Before they didn't have physical money, they were only trading. So now they actually have cash to pay for school, for doctors, for getting transport to the hospitals when they're giving birth. So there are also a lot less children that die while their mother is giving birth. Another funny side effect of the project was that most of the women work in the fields with the soil like farmers all day, so that they have very dirty hands. But of course, when they have to make our products, they have to wash their hands all the time, which makes them have much less disease. So this is a very positive side effect of the work that we're starting to register as well. but it comes along with the whole project.
Part of our strategy was that when we did the homemade in China and came home and start making the products, they start like developing, we wanted to make really nice photos. So we didn't have money to make advertisement and be commercial about it, but if we had really nice photos, we had the idea that we would get publicity in magazine, and that worked. We got a lot of interviews, and in 2008 we were interviewed in magazines and newspapers and nationally wide. We got a lot of publicity, and that strategy worked in the way that then the Agency of Commerce, Danish Chamber of Commerce, contacted us and asked if we would like to work with them in Africa. And of course we would like that. So we went to a meeting. First point, at this meeting they had an idea that we would have like a designer's wish whip, and it should be, we should be throwing out stardust on a lot of different products, so it would increase the export of products from Africa to Denmark. And we just had to say, no thank you, it won't work like that for us. We would like to have a cooperation with them, but we would have to have a specific project and work in the depth and not just try to see a lot of products that could be changed a little bit. That was the idea of how designers work. So we went to much more meetings to talk to them about how we could work. There were many different production areas we could go into, but we ended up agreeing on working with wood in Ghana. At that time, wood was very used in interior and product design in Scandinavia. It was not, of course, a new product. We have a lot of wood in Scandinavia, but it was a good thing to also look at in Ghana, since the wood situation in Ghana is a bit complicated. So we started off by going to Accra, the capital of Ghana, and in a cooperation with a local artisan cooperative, we did a workshop together with 14 wood producers in the area. So Art to Artisan Ghana did the invitation and hosted the workshop, and what we did was we presented a view for these people into the Danish market. So as you see on the the right picture up here, Liselotte is explaining about what does the market look like in Denmark. We were showing pictures of product and interior situation in Denmark for them to know exactly where their product should be aimed at if they wanted to increase their export to Denmark. After the workshop, we went on production visitors, so 6 of the companies were chosen for us to visit and see the condition where they work and get a better feeling of the possibilities within their production facilities. And the idea, the aim was to find one of these producers that we could do a cooperation together with. So we should, after returning to Denmark, design a product that would be produced in cooperation with this manufacturer. So we saw very different facilities. Some were big cooperatives, and then we also did not actually visit, but just heard about Samartex. So in the whole gathering of wood producers, we asked them, where do you get your wood from? How do you know that it's certified and it's legal wood? And they just kind of shook their shoulders and said, well, we don't really know, you know. And I said, no, I don't know. We need to know this. And they had a really, really easy approach to this and didn't think it was very important. So we had to tell them that we thought it was very important, and to sell their products in Denmark, it would be very important whether their wood was legal or illegal. So this became an issue. And then there was this guy in the corner saying, but well, I represent this sustainable wood company, but it's placed far away out in the jungle, so you can't visit it. So we said, okay, sounds interesting. We went back to Denmark and we did desktop research to find out whether this was true or not. And it showed out that actually the first manufacturer of sustainable wood in Denmark, in Ghana, was attending the workshop, they were really placed far out in the jungle, and we later on went on several trips out there. This is from the first trip, and you see Sematex is the name of the big company, and they do, this is like a tree nursery, so they have a very extensive program for putting out new trees and how to run several different systems for how to do sustainable wood. The ownership of the factory is partly German and Ghanaian, so it's a combination, and they use skills for foresting from Canada and Germany, so they had very skilled knowledge about how to do this. So it was a very pleasant surprise for us to find out that there was actually, at that time, just one, but at least one sustainable wood producer in Ghana. And of course we had to choose this as was our co-operator, since it did matter to us whether the wood was legal or not. So we started a cooperation with Sematex, with specifically their carving department called EcoCraft. And at EcoCraft, as you see on the right picture, they have carvers hired in to do carving, so they do all their carving by hand. At EcoCraft, they use all the leftovers from the big industrial productions. They do windows and vinegar, and big productions is like their main income area. And the EcoCraft, the carving department, is a minor part of this big company, but that was the department we worked with. And we had free hands to work with the carvers, so we had a workshop for about a week. We brought different ideas to the table there, discussed it with the carvers, found out what was possible and what was not possible. We had wishes for what kind of wood, and they introduced us to a big amount of African wood species that we never heard about or saw before. So we got new choices on the table, and we had designed products in Denmark that we brought down there, and we worked it out, and we brought home some prototypes in the suitcase and started to promote the selling of these products. This product is called Worm, and this is called Worm 3 because there are 3 balls. It's hand carved out of one piece of wood. And this you see is a Worm 5 because it's the 5 balls that are connected together. Yeah, the piece is about that big, about 60 centimeters. So this was the worm, and then this product where you see the surface is much different. We wanted also to emphasize the hand of the work, because actually we're many times confused for being a thing made out on a machine, because they're so precise in their carving that many people thought it was done by a machine, and we really had to stand up and say, no, it's made by hand. So it was interesting for us to work with other expressions also. So this one, and they thought this was crazy. This was really half finished. This was a stupid stage to stop at. But we insisted because we wanted to show this as an expression also. Yeah, now we have also from Ghana a small video. Again, it's just our own shooting down there. So it's just for you to get an idea of what it looks like. It's like a 12-hour drive, primarily on dirt roads. And then you arrive out in the jungle to the factory, and there's a small village around the factory. Of course, it's where the workers live. And this is entering the factory. And as I guess you get the impression from the pictures here, this is a very, very big place. There's about 1,500 people working there. And this is the carving department. They do very traditionally stuff, but they were also interested in experimenting. And here Peter is starting a Worm 5. So to cut the wood in the beginning, they use machines, and then from there, they work from partly our drawing and their own skilled hands. These are the sanding ladies, and they take over. After the carving is done, they do the sanding work. And it was a big challenge to have the sanding ladies not do all the curves round, because that's what they're used to and that's what they prefer. So we had to say stop many times to keep the sharp edges, which was an expression that we liked on the product. Even now, this over here, it's 20 millimeters, the one we made already. And we were really discussing dimensions. We wanted a bit fatter than they wanted. So they do the inside first and then they do the outside.
So, as you can see, the situation in Ghana was something very different. It was about keeping a production going with the rest production using that wood, because that department would also educate new young people and hire them and train them in the factory and give them skills. But then we started a project in Zimbabwe with the Danish FairTrade organization, which again is a completely different story. We were in touch with a Danish woman who used to live in Zimbabwe and who just recently moved back there, actually. And she has been importing some very nice fine art objects from Zimbabwe. That's been they're very different, but they're very skilled, and they have been doing this since the 50s, where it has been a really big success in the United States and also in France. But in 2008, the orders seemed to stop. So these very skilled fine artists actually didn't have any living anymore. So Alice contacted us and asked if we could maybe come to Zimbabwe and make a workshop with these people, and helping them through the design methods to create new ideas, to get new ideas for products that they could sell in the Scandinavian market. So they would sort of expand their businesses by not only doing fine art, but also something that would put bread on the table. What we came down to in Zimbabwe is that this is the production, actually, because even though they have electricity in the working space, it's almost never there, maybe a couple of hours a day, so you better not plan your production on having any electricity at all. So we went there with the hopes that these people would accept our proposal, that they had to change the way that they were working, because they've been used to working like a real fine artist, you could say, sort of from having an idea within and getting it out. And we were here to propose to them that they should look outside at the market and at customers and try to reach that market, which was a brand new idea for them. But they were very willing to accept the ideas and very easy to work with. We had a lot of fun in Zimbabwe because we met on a level with humor. And in a few days we had lectures about trying to do technical drawings, not only doing them yourself, but also being able to read them. So if you get a proposal from a customer, you can actually see if this proposal is something you're able to or want to do. This would give them one more leg in their business to be able to support themselves. We also did mood boards, brought a lot of magazines and books to inspire them and to give them an idea about other kinds of shapes and textures, and we were working a lot with combining that with their African traditions. We introduced them to a new working method that designers use a lot by doing small models or bigger models before you actually do your real product. And this was also a very good idea in their case, because a lot of them actually don't have the money to buy the raw stone, the rock that they're going to make into a product. So this was a way of them to check out some of their ideas before they started out a production. We had a lot of discussions in Zimbabwe also about the fair trade principles and about the freedom to say your opinions out loud, and a lot of also trying to make development of their little small businesses. So we were teaching entrepreneurship and small business cases, and also hands-on work on the grounds there. This is pictures from the production. Everything is going on sitting down in nature. No, not too many tables or chairs. And because we had a lot of lectures, we finished off with diplomas for everybody who participated. And this is the whole team, and we're still working with them, trying to make a small new collection every once a year. Here comes some of the end products that are made in cooperation with the fine artists that we have now agreed with them that these things we do together, we call them functional art. These sim stones was an idea for the people who don't have money to buy the big stones. So we made an agreement, everything has to be done in the community and agreed on with everybody. So we have meetings that take maybe 3-4 hours to get some things sort of formalized, and everybody agreed that it's okay to take small stones from each other's workshops if it's leftovers. So we are trying to design things for these people to go and find stones, and that will fit into that. So they will slowly earn some money to buy the bigger stones. Now, as we are getting more and more into the sustainable thinking as well, we're so happy that Alice actually now moved to Zimbabwe again. So instead of bringing all these heavy stone products to Scandinavia, we are now trying to expand the market in Zimbabwe and in South Africa. And that's going very well. So we will have a market much closer to the production, which is a much more sustainable, of course, way of doing it. And then again, we have a small video just showing you sort of the atmosphere in Zimbabwe.
It's called Chituvinga Art Center, and it's located about 30 kilometers out of Harare, and this is the art center. And all the artists have their own little lot where they are showing their work, and customers will come into the art center, walk around in the area, and buy directly from the artists.
This one is excellent.
We prepare by doing sketches and finishing design proposals at home. So we brought the drawings on specific objects, but also at the workshop. They were drawing things, they were proposing ideas, and in the end, in the workshop in Zimbabwe, was a very nice combination of product they designed and product we designed, and new things done in cooperation. This is me trying to explain how a 3D printer works.
And you will see some of our sketches also in a while, and you can see. Yeah.
And we were discussing a lot about what's possible and the thickness of the products, also to limit the weight, but of course also about the expression of the product.
That would be the process for how you work.
And just to round up, this is how we try to condensate our services. So as you have heard throughout the 3 projects, we have learned new things every time, and each project has been an individual project. So nothing is the same in the way that we have worked, but we have earned a lot of experience. So we take in new challenges with open arms, and we do work with people from all kind of different levels and natures. So as you see here, we try to list up that it could be NGOs, private organizations, schools, academies, and so forth. And we do teach home back in Denmark within the area of sustainability and the way that we work. So we have a very wide way of working as it is today. And we do have a blog, like a homepage, so feel very free to visit it if you would like to see more information about the different projects. And this is a finishing part of the FairTrade Designers presentation. And now Pia will take over.
I think we'll just continue. This is not such a long speak, and then maybe we will just have a lot of questions or discussions afterwards about everything in a big chaos together, right? Maybe I can sit so I can see the notes. As you maybe understood during the talk, we were so fortunate as to be supported by this unique project or program, and this is done internationally, and we want to be supporting and coordinating the Danish presence at international design events. The collection is a project within the Danish Art Foundation, and it's carried out by the Danish Agency of Culture, and it makes one annual collection a year. So it's changing every year, and the curator is changing also. And this year I'm so lucky to be the curator. The collection and the Danish craft collection and the office is working for the individual designer. This is what you gain from being accepted in the collection. We will promote the designers and artisans on one of the most important fairs in Europe. Now we are working with Maison et Object in Paris. And here there will be possibilities for the designers and the curators to extend their customer portfolio. They will actually be able to go to a big international fair like this, which is very expensive normally, and get a good relationship with new customers, which probably wouldn't be possible for them if they didn't have this sort of scene or arena. They will get producer contacts, and they will get press coverage both nationally and internationally. The collection is a collection with a theme every year, and then you apply to get accepted in the collection. And then the show is launched at a big fair, and these are some pictures to show you how our fairs can look. They're very different from each year to the next, but still there is a strong brand behind the Danish craft collection now, and it's been internationally very known and quite appreciated. These are some of the former objects that's in the collection to give you an idea. The people that participate and is accepted it can go both ways with their success. This is examples of designers and craftsmen who have improved their own workshops by getting more and more customers through the design collection. And these are examples of products within the collection that went into production. That can also be a possibility. So there are different ways of success criteria, which varies from one designer to the next. These are some very well-known Danish design companies who's put the things into production. So we've been talking a lot about this also with Adelia, and as we are here in Brazil, we are also, of course, trying to seek new possibilities and new ways of working. And I believe that good design always carries a message. And I think that once the designer has done the project, his or she's object will sort of form us right back. So if the designer gives shape to something, put the ideas into something, these physical ideas will also actually move and touch the person who uses it. So it's, you can say in Denmark, the position of craft right now might be a little bit different from in Brazil. We're here to learn whether this is right, but I can tell you a little bit about how the position is in Denmark. From being works primarily aesthetically oriented, that is works that's sort of based on the material aesthetics and aesthetic properties. We see that a lot of our practitioners in Denmark more and more is sort of oriented towards the more narrative and conceptual layers of meaning within craft. In Denmark, this movement really started in the 90s, and we see now that a lot of the Danish craft that is very popular is not only communicating through aesthetics anymore. It's communicating through some levels of, you could say, intellectual properties that are gives this craft in itself a very special position, because somehow craft is both a product, design product, but still not quite, and it's not art. It actually has a special position in the middle, or above, or under, or beside, that makes it very powerful. Because I believe that craft has this ability to be something that we recognize as an object we use in our daily lives, and still it also has the right or the power to be a critical piece of object, an object that can actually give you maybe a little bit of challenge the way we think, or challenge the way we do things, or how we behave, or how we consume, and our daily way of living. So this makes craft actually, in my point of view, a very powerful area to work within. And my focus in CC 18, which is the Craft Collection 18, has been on sustainability. Also, of course, because of what we're working with in FairTrade Designers. But it has been the focus in materials or in production methods. And something is missing here, but because it's also can also be within the idea or the concept of the craft. All the people represented in this collection have their own sort of idea or way to express how they see sustainability. And as Henriette also was saying, there is not one right way. And I think it's really interesting to see how many different layers there can be in this interpretation of sustainability, because it can be in the idea that the product will make you think and reflect, like a political statement, but it can also be very hands-on in the material itself. This is important because 98% of everything newly produced is thrown away within 6 months. So that makes you think about what and how we consume and produce, and how we get rid of things if we do that. These are actually a little bit of sneak preview, because we're only launching this collection next week in the press in Denmark, so you will get a little bit of a sneak preview. I hope you won't tell anybody, but this will be launched in September in Paris, in Maison Object. And I will just explain maybe 6 or 7 of the people participating, and hopefully the whole collection, or most of it, will come maybe next year to be exhibited here. The first project is a duo of ceramics called Cladis, very famous and well known and recognized in Denmark. And what they have done here is made a wine glass, but they made it in porcelain, and when they bake it in the oven, it sort of melts and it lies down in different positions. This is interesting when you're trying to use it, because it's still functional. You can actually still use it, and use it for parties or receptions and drink red wine from it, but you can't put it down until you finished your drink. So this makes it a really nice party, and it also makes you talk and communicate and discuss what is happening, going on while using it. And it makes me think about how I'm going to store them at home. Will I display them maybe as a little sculpture on my desk, or what will I do with them when I'm finished? I think it's a really nice way of making us be aware of a very simple object that we use often. On the other product is a container for little things. It's huge, it's 3 meters high, but this is like a little thing you could have in your entrance to put your keys or your phone or a little note or something. And it's also a completely different way of seeing a little storage furniture. This is taking up a lot of space, and it's claiming to be a sculpture instead of just being something that you put in the corner for all your piles. This project is completely different again. This is a Danish designer called Jeremy Walton, who's claiming that his title is a folk artist. He doesn't want to be called a designer anymore. And he's doing a project where this is a offline messenger to give your loved one or family or friends a message. These are little pieces of paper rolled up to write a small handwritten message. And he is very consistent in the way he works. This is a product he's only doing it in the public spaces. He goes to the parks in Denmark, in Copenhagen, and he claims the wood that is either dead or cut down, and he seeks permission to go and get it. And then he sits in the park and he rolls out a really fine little blanket and puts something on his knees, and he has put his tools, and then he sits in the park and works in the park. And that of course makes a lot of attention, and people come to him and ask what he's doing. And so his project is actually just as much about getting in contact with other people that it is with the object itself. But it's a sculpture or a little messenger you put in your home, and it's supposed to be either a message for the brain, or for the heart, or for the libido. So when you come home, you will be excited to see which kind of message is waiting. This is a really, really difficult project to take a picture of, because these are two textile women who have been trying to work with transparent projects. And this is transparent cotton organza, and it's a quilt and a cushion, but and it's transparent, so you can see the stuffing inside the pillow and the cushion. And it's really beautiful and delicate and refined, like a princess thing. And you will definitely spill something on it quickly, but I think it will only make it more beautiful actually with some stains of tea and coffee. And what I see when I look at it, it's not possible to take a picture of it. You have to imagine that it's almost transparent. But I think that it tells me a story about that we have to make our production much more transparent. We have to think about what's inside the products that we use, which kind of materials we use that's behind the surfaces. So it's kind of an intellectual piece in my point of view. This is a project from a young designer called Caroline Fossum, and she's also working with the same immigrant women as I was explaining about before. She has been trying to get them to draw remembering their former life before they came to Denmark. This could be Pakistan or Turkey or Morocco, and these women don't really speak much Danish, which makes it really difficult for them to be integrated in Denmark. But they are very keen on expressing themselves through the visual pictures. So they have been drawing pictures from their remembering the other world, and Caroline has been doing the composition afterwards. And these are the two examples of illustration that they will have. But the coloring will be different from time to time, depending on which woman is making the embroidery. So sometimes the houses would be completely filled with colors. Sometimes it will be maybe in green colors, or maybe much more decorated, and the same with the birds. This is a young male designer, Jonas Edvard Nielsen, with the MYX lamp, which is also very interesting. He's very, very precise on his materials, and he wants everything to be biodegradable. So he's now trying to make his own materials and experimenting with his own production methods to make everything 100% biodegradable. This is a lampshade made from a natural textile called hemp, the fibers from hemp from the plant. It's not the one you smoke like our pillows, but it has the same strong qualities, like a filt. And then what he does is that he actually plants mushrooms on this and water it, and they grow, and the roots will infiltrate the filters and will make a complete cover with roots inside the natural fibers. Then he harvests the mushrooms, maybe make an omelette, but then he will take the lamp and put it into an oven that he designed himself to dry it, and it will be strong and hardened up. And when you're finished using it, you could plant it in your garden, and the flowers will benefit from it. He also makes his own glue, actually, from natural glues, from gathering tang, seaweed on the beaches, and then he boils it and makes his own natural glue. His colleague, who's also in the same kind of field, Nikolaj Stefan Thomsen, did this chair from a very old technique that you used to do when you were making the battling clothing for soldiers, or in the old Romans would have these uniforms with from hardened leather. So he softens the leather with water and presses it into the shape, and then hardened it up while it's dried. It's like corsets or armors in the very old tradition. So it has this self-supporting leather upholstery, which can also be a very interesting idea for the industry, I think, to begin to think in some of the old traditional producing methods. He also did a brand new material himself from everything that he has of leftovers from his studio and from his kitchen, and he makes it into a big dough that he, like when you're making a bread, and then he flattens it out and put it into shape, mold it into shapes, and dry it up, and make lamp shapes or little balls or different kind of things from this material. At the moment, I think he's experimenting also on making it into a chair. They will of course always look different because it depends on what you're throwing out, and they will be 100% biodegradable too, and have this really beautiful surface looking maybe a little bit like different birds' eggs or things, yeah, from nature. Another example of some ceramic designers are these little vases, which is a completely different project again, because these people, Claire Marie Lehmann and Iben Harbo, are famous for working with very special glazes. They experiment all the time to develop new glazes, new colors, new transparencies in it, and so they have a lot of waste, glaze waste. And as you might know, this is extremely poisoning, so instead of throwing out this chemical waste all the time, they decided to make a small vase with very small special proportions that they were just able to dip into all the rests. So every little single vase will be different and never be possible to copy again, because they will use all their rests like this, and when they open the oven after burning it, they will only then know the result. Alexander Winther Høgh is a fashion designer in Denmark, but she has started a new project where she is collecting thrown away jeans from all over the world, in Africa and also in Denmark, and then she's making a really nice collection of bags from this. Danish designer Mette Krag down here in the corner has made these tea hot, what do you call them, for keeping your tea warm. And this is a special textile from Tibet that she actually went there and got permission to go into Tibet, got permission to work with the Tibetans, and permission to bring some textiles out and export it out of the country. So for me it's kind of a political piece of design that makes us remember and think about what very refined quality of craft is also made in countries that we are have very difficulties to get to or to reach. In the upper corner is Margrethe Odgaard, who's a very recognized textile designer in Denmark, who started a project with some African women that do the beading, and she's made, I think, the most simple lampshade you can do at all. I never saw anything, a lampshade so simple, and it's very effectful and beautiful, and creates work for a lot of African women. It's a very beautiful project and very simple. And this is Rosa Tolnov Clausen, who's done a very special project, and the pillows are beautiful. But it's not so much about the pillows. They will all be different. But what Rosa has done is that she's actually developed a working tool for blind people to be able to get into textile production. So instead of in Denmark having no work as a blind person, or maybe very little or very limited, she opens the door for them to get into another kind of branch. So she did a toolbox where she has sort of recorded all the different possibilities of choices that you could do, like what kind of material, which kind of weaving, which kind of color, which kind of decoration, and then the individual person puts it together by touching and feeling and sensing what to choose. For me, this is an example of craft that could actually, again, like a lot of the projects, change the world, in the sense that this might be another way of creating new jobs for people with disabilities, and maybe working with their disabilities instead of against it. So I will just finish up with a quote that I find very nice. It's from the former CEO of Danish Craft, Birgitte Jern, and she said that craft is embodied with integrity and authenticity, and this is qualities that reflect prevailing values, and therefore craft will never exist to inherit creative capital. I think a lot of these projects are very good examples of this. So I hope we will be able to come here and show you the whole collection live, and thank you very much for listening.
very good presentation in these two parts. I think the quality of the FairTrade Designers work we could see, and the light was out. Can you show the bracelet? Here, when we saw, I think it's an interesting piece because it doesn't change the technique and the aesthetics of the work the previous have done, but improves the quality of the product by doing this. The functionality. I think it's a very good kind of interference. It doesn't hurt it doesn't change it's a kind of, I think it's a respectful thing that you have done, for instance, in this work, because sometimes we see designers arriving to the communities and wanting to change everything with no respect at all and with no dialogue. So for this I found your work very interesting. In this presentation on Danish Crafts Collection, I wish we could have in Brazil something like that. We don't have, by now, public policies to improve, stimulate, and diffuse our craft. And it really is a very important tool you have in Denmark. I wish you could have this. And when Clarice and we went there, Pio made a presentation, and both of us, we found the selection very good and very, deals with issues we are living just now in the contemporary times, and in different kinds of paths. The work more connected with communities, and then they work with some the designers themselves, and so on. So we are opening for a short talk. If you want to ask in Portuguese, that you can help us and translate into English. Feel free to, or ask or just comment, because as I spoke in the beginning, we have now, the ideal thing would be now to have a short presentation of some of the very good designers we have here this evening. But as we can't do this now, if you have something to share, observe, not just question, please. Don't be shy. Miriam.
So the question I have is, when you go to, like on these projects, on China, on Ghana, the question always wonder me, I've done some, is after you go away and you made the project, and how it continues or not, because I have some examples that there were some cases that things continued, and there are some very nice examples that it didn't. It was great when we were there, the products were nice, but then something not related to the product, but the continuity of it, depending on someone who was leading the group goes out and then the group fades. This is a thing that I would like to know about the project you participate, the continuity of the work.
Yeah. It's a very important question, and we've also been experiencing a bit of the same. But what we have found out is that we have to be very aware before we start a project who we started with, and whether there is capacity within the area of somebody to being the keeper of the connection. So what we have most success with is the places where we have a person either living there or living close to, or being able to speak the language there, so that we will always have this connection person. So in these cases, what works best for us is that we actually work through a producer. So in Zimbabwe, we have the Danish woman who is the business contact there. And we will have a lot of dialogue back and forth on email and Skype. And we will always have to have the next sort of plan, when are we coming again? Yeah. So every time we leave, we talk about what's the next step. And this has been very important. In Ghana, it's much more difficult to keep it alive, because we don't have somebody fixed there that we work with. So we're just now trying, we have a connection to somebody who will help us being that person there. So it's a big issue, because there's no reason to go there and then to leave and never follow it up. It's very important for us that it's something continuously. Rather have fewer projects and then keep them going. Yeah.
And the detail about the Chinese project is that the Danish women living out there actually visit Denmark frequently. So we have meetings in Denmark as well. So we will pile up information like drawings or things that she should bring out to Kunming and take to the mountains afterwards. So it's crucial for the further development of a project that you have a strong connection and contact. So it's also Bitten coming to Denmark to keep the project on track.
It's about making a commitment on both sides. That if you start something, we commit to it, and so we also feel that, or we want the other persons that we're working with to commit the same way. Yeah, it's very important. It's very important to say it in the beginning of the project. Yeah.
A minha pergunta é sobre papéis femininos e masculinos nas comunidades que vocês trabalharam. Eu vou fazer, tá? Na China, né, pareceu que era uma vocação mais feminina, e não sei se na África tinham as duas coisas, ou uma vocação mais masculina. Eu gostaria de saber se vocês perceberam que, com o trabalho de vocês, se isso impacta de alguma maneira uma diferença nesse ritmo, né? Se isso passa a se misturar, se homens passam a se interessar a abordar, ou como isso se deu após o trabalho de vocês na relação homens e mulheres dentro do trabalho artesanal. Obrigada.
I'll just try to sum up some of her questions. It's related to gender in the work you've been developing with the communities. She noticed that in China it was mostly female work, and in Ghana it was mostly a male work. And this engagement with either women or men, if that has an impact on the product you've been developing or in the work.
We have not ourselves been able to choose the gender of the people we have been working with. In China, it was all women, and actually in Zimbabwe, it was mixed, but it was 3/4 were men, and then 1/4 were women. And it was an issue in Zimbabwe in the beginning that we were women, not for us, but for them. And actually there was a man who mentioned that he was a master and he was the oldest. So I had to argue his age, and it showed out I was 1 year older than he was. So it was not an issue longer. So it was an issue that we were women and they were men for them. But I don't know, we have not decided only to work with women, but we have been looking for projects involving women, but we have been working with both sexes, with both genders.
Yeah, and somehow I think maybe the end result is maybe not so different. I think we found that the males are just as poetic and sensitive towards the craft and design as the females, but maybe the processes are different. When we work with the women, often it takes longer time to get them to carry something to the table. They're very willing to help with a lot of other things, but not so confident to bring their own ideas to the table. Whether with the men, it's the opposite. where we maybe have a lot of ideas from them, and we have to discuss and work with that. So the processes are different.
But for us, it makes no difference. It's the work with the handicraft that's important.
But do you have experience in that it's different? Maybe the result or the process.
Eu vou falar em português porque é mais fácil o pensamento. Eu entendi o processo e tem similaridades com alguns projetos que a gente desenvolve aqui, como a Adélia falou, com vários profissionais que estão aqui hoje. Mas a pergunta é, após o trabalho de vocês, se a reação, se vocês notaram ou se já deu tempo de perceber alguma diferença de comportamento com relação ao que era tido como trabalho masculino e trabalho feminino. Se homens se interessaram em fazer bordados na China, enfim, essa conexão, essa diferença, né? Depois do trabalho de vocês.
I think that she's wondering because there is in Brazil there are some we can observe that the relationship in the family changes, and so the woman is more empowered, and then maybe there are problems with their husband, and they have to change their way of life and so on. And there are changes for better, and there are also changes for worse. When the husband doesn't accept the woman that goes to places to sell her pieces, or go to places like this and shows and begin to appear in the press and so on. And we in Brazil. There are some concern about this, and then how to do the work in a way that can help to have better relationships between the genders. I don't know if it's more or less this. And so if you are concerned with this, or if you observe some change in the communities, she understood that for you, it doesn't matter if there are men or women in the works, but what happens after you go there? It's more or less.
In the project in China, where we worked only solo with women, one of the workshops ran very late, so some of the women had to go home and ask their husband if they could stay later. So even though they were paid to participate, even they got money out of participation, it was an issue whether they could participate or not. So there's no question. It is pushing the balance between the woman and the man in a family. But in my opinion, it's also empowering the women. But I could be frightened, but I could also insist that these women need to be empowered to be able to take choices in their life, like sending their children to school. But I'm aware it is changing the balance in the family when a woman starts to make money and her man doesn't. It does. And I also agree that it's both doing good and bad, or it's putting in a fear in me that it's hurting the woman in some sense, but still, in the end of the day, I think it's part of empowering women that they must fight for their rights in societies where they don't have fully rights. So I think that the aim is positive, but there's a fear for consequences that I cannot control. So it has both positive and endangering situation. But I think the main goal is empowering these women, and that is happening.
So some of the women in China, for example, also thought that they would stop participating in the project as soon as they got married, for example, if they weren't already married. So there is a lot of concern about those issues. But then we also, when we work within the fair trade rules, there are a lot of things about the community that you have to take care of. So you actually sort of forced in a good way to discuss things like this, to discuss morale and ethics and how you behave within a family. And yeah, so we're not educated in the subject, but we are aware of yeah.
Hello, my name is Lars. I have a Danish name, but it's from my grandfather. Well, I'm a designer also. I work since 1995 with handicraft. And I guess, I don't know if everybody agrees, but I think the methodologic approach is, I guess, quite the same. If you speak about design and a designer going in the community, we have the knowledge of the market, and we go to the community and learn what the people do, and you know, like respect what they do, and try to unify these 2 points, like the techniques and the market knowledge. But throughout the years, as a designer, I always questioned, because I studied in Germany and very near to Denmark, in Kiel, and we learn to focus on the product. We don't learn to focus on the people. So that's changed. That changed throughout the years. That now the focus is more on the people. Although the product is a very important part of it, because that's what will gain the income for the people. But so we have to learn more about what the people want, or how do you want to develop them. And I guess it's important in this project that we try to work with other professionals, because it's not only the product that will change the life of the people. Maybe for a short moment it will, maybe for one collection it's important, but the questions here were about the concerns of what happens after the designer goes there. You know? And that's what we are trying to work. What kind of organization are we going to leave at the place? Here we are very concerned about leaving groups that are have a lot of autonomy, and they do they're the owner of their company or cooperative or something like that. In Asia, sometimes it's different, where a designer go there and develop a product, and there's an owner, and a lot of people work for low wages and so on. And another point is that it's different from maybe Asia or Africa. Here is the wage that people want to earn, or the minimum wage in Brazil is quite high if you compare it to China or Africa maybe. So we have no chance to export Brazilian handicrafts. So our market is mostly a Brazilian market. But, well, that was only a little bit of I analyzed the methodology you use, and maybe the concern of a designer after so many years, that the point is not the product, but the point is the people. What changes are we doing to the community, or what the community wants? And the important, and how important it is to work with other professionals, like with marketing, or not psychologists, but people, developers, you know, local developers, to know the laws, and how can we empower people to build their own businesses and so on. So I don't know if somebody can help me, but I guess it's very important to analyze the differences, or the things that we do quietly the same as you.
we completely agree, and it's very interesting to hear about the thing with the prices. That's very interesting. We've been very much wishing to work with some anthropologists, maybe, or some people who knows about native cultures that could cooperate with us at the same time. We tried to do it in Denmark in the project with the integration, where we also have the commune or the social system sort of being behind the project, where we also have somebody teaching physical health care and teaching about food and helping to empower the children also with their school. But we couldn't agree more. Yeah.
Just to add something to what Lars have spoken, I think you pointed out the main issues we are dealing with now here, beyond the product, beyond the object, the relationship between the people, between we from the city and then from the countryside or from the favela and so on. And I think that for us, in this place, a casa, is a place where this debate, this reflection is going on for some years now, and we are correcting our path. We are finding new ways to do things, and also for instance, to work whenever possible, to work in multidisciplinary teams with people, not only with designers that will concern about the form of the object or the use of the materials, but also with sociologists and anthropologists and so on. So we are, and this is the place for this reflection. Yes, please, Renata.
Hello, good evening. My name is Renata. I was in Denmark last year, also with Miriam, in this design project that we did this exhibition. And this issue about design, I think, I'm a textile design, and I seem that I learn a lot with the Asian techniques, that I can go to the communities and learn a lot with them about the fabrication, about the materials, and also about the way of living of these people that are abroad, the big cities. Because they have something, we have a lot to show, but we have a lot to learn. And all this time that I went there, I learned so many things about being sustainable, I think, beyond the product. Because you can choose the material, see if you're producing garbage or not, is it will stays, how do you put this? But I think the design is a verb. It's not, and then it's not the product, as Lars said. It's more than that, and we need to work beyond the atelier or beyond your design place with this thing that Adelia told, multi-discipline, and many fields working together. Because my fear is what this community will have by you going away. And like the products that you were selling, they made the bowls. Only Denmark, or they sell this product abroad? Because the issue is how to value the things that should be meaning for them, what they are doing. And how you can put your ideas, like showing pictures of many products making around the world, and they have their own, what is right, and how you can interfere, and to be sure that you are going to respect this, and the thing that how they will be respected by their community. Because if you are selling the product in a Danish museum, it's something. If the people that are just my neighborhood see what I do and they like and they want to buy it, it's another market thing. It's another way of thinking the market and the value, the product in their own community, and make. I don't know if my English is not so good. If I'm clear, it's very difficult because if you only sell in museums abroad, what is the value for the people that are producing this or that? And if you go away and you don't buy those products, they are still doing it. Because there are only this museum, or other people are buying the same products that you develop there. That's the issue. Thank you.
I think that Kelly wants to add. Yes.
Hi, my name is Kelly White. Thank you for being here, first of all. I think your experiences help us. I have also worked in communities here in Brazil. And I always hit the same key. It has to sell. And I think our market here it's really tough here, because you can talk about sustainability, but you know, it's not enough. I think you're in an advanced market. It might be easier to sell your products, because I find that we come up with great ideas. Everyone loves them, but no one buys them. And then I have to answer to the community that I went in, and we say, no, we have to continue, and we end up subsidizing with our energy and our money and all that. And I don't know if it's. I think you're very lucky that you have a cultural ministry that helps. You know, we find ourselves kind of lost. Talk to Martha Suplicy. Maybe she might help us out. I don't know, but I find that it's. How do I want to say? For me, it's basically this selling. It's the market, you know, and we try to get in there, but there's still lots of resistance. But anyway, thank you for participating and sharing, because all of us that have worked in communities and find that this is probably the hardest problem, is to getting it on the market, being accepted, and paying for it. Products are expensive. They're handmade. And you keep selling it's handmade and it's a community, but it still doesn't get there. People are not willing to pay for it. Here, I find that my products are more successful abroad than here in Brazil. But anyway, it's just
I think we experience a bit of the same as you're talking about, that some of these products are also a bit difficult to sell in the countries where we make them. So they're a little bit easier to sell maybe in some other countries. But we are trying really hard to continuously show the local population how popular it is abroad. Yes, yeah, it doesn't, yeah, exactly. So at the moment in South Africa, they're quite fond of it because it was popular in Scandinavia, even though it almost didn't even manage to get time enough to be popular. But that's what we say. And we are very focused on the selling as well. I mean, there is no fair trade if there is no selling. So, and exactly. And we always start out the project by explaining the economical conditions very clearly to the people that we work with. And we often bring our working method from Denmark, where it's a royalty-based condition. So we discuss the prices on the things before we start the real deal. And we discuss the percentage. And sometimes we get 6% of the turnover, sometimes 15%, depends on who's doing the work with the selling. If the local people goes to the market themselves to sell it, then it's their deal, they earn the money. If we go and make an effort to try and sell it somewhere, we earn a little bit more, but we always have a deal with them that we share the percentage. Yeah, yeah. So that's how we try to do it, but we know what you're talking about. We're from the same world anyhow.
But though it is true that even also what brought us here tonight, that we have a government that also values to send people out and try to make a cultural exchange. Of course, it gives us a head start on some of the projects. Craft Collection founded us on the very first trip. So, of course, that gave us a springboard to jump from. But again, just to emphasize what Peel says, if there's no deal, there's no fair trade. So we can talk a lot about handicraft and art and the techniques, but if there's no profit, if there's no product being sold, nobody's making any money, definitely also not the people who really made this in the beginning.
I think it's time for finishing our meeting. I don't know if somebody would you like to point out something. Okay, quickly, please, Miriam.
What Lars talked about this interdisciplinary work. And once I made a work that there was a psychologist that came together, and it was very interesting. But then if you don't have the political place or the administrative, sometimes it doesn't continue. But what I think regarding this conversation, what is most important is about education, because the work or the projects you do intend to make products that can be sold and provide money for people that need more money to live better than they live now. Yes, but there are this kind of work, and there is another kind of work. I remember an institute in Brazil, in São Paulo, que é o Instituto Acaia. Many people here know that the main thing is not products, but education, in the sense of people learning to have a better choice, better information. And this is, I think, it's something that most of the projects think more on the final product. And maybe this isn't the most important thing.
I think it was a very nice evening, a great conversation, and we have lots to learn with each other. I am very happy that the cultural exchange between Denmark and Brazil is improving. Last year, this exhibition with jewelry designers at Museu da Casa Brasileira, together with Brazilian designers, and then the exhibition there, curated by Anne-Marie Overby, who is a person that likes very much Brazilian design and knows our reality, because she used to be our ambassadress of Denmark in Brazil. It was a great step. And then now this exhibition at Tomiotaki Institute. And if you want, you can consult the catalog here and see a little more, and just cross the street some other day and see a great exhibition. And I really want that that selection Peel showed us will be showed in here next year. Thank you very much. Would you like to speak some final word? Or? Thank you very much.